Good evening and welcome to MGR Rovers. We're going to review game week 6. It's been an interesting weekend where Liverpool stutter, Arsenal suddenly become favourites, Man U look Spursy, and we're going to discuss all the action from the weekend. We're going to start with Man United away at Brentford. For myself, I put a 1-1 draw. Phil, you had 2-1 down. Nathan, 2-0 to Man United. Evening, chaps. How are you all doing? So, so I saw another disaster class from Man United, losing 3-1. Penalty missed. Bruno, shocking, to be fair. Again, to be fair, I don't think the VAR decision helped him. The length it took him from to the penalty favour, you guys saw it. It was a good 5 minutes before he took that penalty, and he missed. Yeah, pressure on him.
Is just staggering, to be fair. The players aren't playing for him. It was just slack at the back. If you look at those first two Brentford goals, the first goal, just a breakaway goal, well taken, but, shouldn't have that much space, shouldn't have that much time. Second one, what's the goalkeeper doing? Should save it. Third one, the goalkeeper should save it. They're still not figured it out. They should have bought a keeper. And they're paying the price again. Even the goal, their goal, to be fair, and I like Kelleher a lot, but it just comes from a goalkeeping mistake from Brentford. And even then, Sesko needs, 1, 2, 3 shots at it to get it in. Fair play bundled it at the end of the day, but it wasn't exactly the Haaland-esque finish that I think they thought they paid for. So just messy, scrappy, sloppy, just not good enough. Just really, really poor. And you know what? Fair play, Brentford are organised, but organised should not be enough to beat Manchester United. Manchester United should be competing with Tottenham, Newcastle, and Villa for those Europeans, and Chelsea, I guess, for that 4th Champions League spot. You can argue how crap the squad is, or it's good enough. It was properly organised to be competing with those squads. So just bad from start to finish. And my old man's a Man United fan. He had his head in his hands while the updates were coming in. It just
reoccurrence or that film.
Awful. Absolutely awful. So
we just spin it round though, but a bit of positive for Brentford, because obviously when they lost the manager, they lost some of the best players. They've come in and they've got some really good results. And obviously we all predicted that, or mainly Brentford, were probably going to have a bad season. They're not doing too bad, are they, at the minute? They beat us. They beat obviously Man United. So like Keith Andrews, whether what we think of him or not, he seems to be getting results from the players. But you are right with Man United, is they're just a complete mess at the minute, aren't they? They don't know what they're doing. They can't play the formation the manager's asking. The manager's under massive pressure. He's coming out in the press. He's saying the only way that you're going to get rid of me is to sack me. It's just not great. Something's got to give. I've seen that the Brighton manager's been linked with the Man United job, but I think anyone who takes that job at the minute it's a poison chalice. It really is. And I know he's not.
Well, I think we've got that.
Yeah, but surely if he carries on, it's not going to be much longer before the board pull the trigger and get rid of him. So, yeah, not great if you're a Man United fan again.
I think he'll be. I think there's, we'll see how they get on. I mean, the problem is when they come against somebody organised, they're not organised enough. So, it's a bit like your PSGs of the past, isn't it? And
am I back in the room, guys?
Well, I think we're having a few difficulties getting Nathan's feed through.
The gremlins are in the system, but it just individuals won't get them over the line, and that's going to be a really interesting match at the weekend.
Am I back in the room, guys, or not?
Yeah, we can hear you, Nick.
Yeah, just dash your camera back on and off.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be an interesting match at the weekend, I think, because Sunderland are another organised team, and I think Man United struggle when they come up against an organised team. So not good enough, and he's hanging by a thread, isn't he? So let's see.
Does he get much more time?
Does he what?
Does he get much more time?
I
Not for me,
think.
no.
I
think he's on thin ice.
Did either of you see the percentage stat that came up, whether Man United fans wanted to see him to give him more time? 64 to 52 or something like that.
I think the thing is with Man United, you just don't know, do you? Because the owners don't give a shit what the fans think. So, I mean, they really don't. Those owners are so far detached from the fans that it's not relevant. But
yeah.
I think it'll be an interesting battle in the Man United boardroom at the minute, because I think, obviously Radcliffe and that appointed him. And I think the Glazers will be pushing to bin him because they'll want that, the Glazers' answer is to bin the manager and get a positivity bounce. But I think there's all this talk in there. It's cheaper to sack him once he's been there for a year. And that gets him, that's November time, isn't it? So whether he'll suffer after that, I don't know. The question is, who would you bring in? I mean, there's a lot of talk about, at least the Brighton manager, Nate, but talk of Glasner being linked. The issue for Man United
why would you want the Man United job? And let's just take away the fact that the Man United, the fact that club is a mess at the minute. Every manager that's come in, whether it's been a world-class manager or an up-and-coming manager, has failed. So why would you want it?
Well, the thing is, they've not put a workhorse manager in before, have they? So they've had all the shiny named foreign coaches. David Moyes clearly wasn't up to the task of it, but you've also looked at what, whoever does drag them out the shit is going to be one of the most sought after managers and immortalised managers in world football. So you say poison chalice, but if you screw it up, everyone just goes, well, do you know what? You never had a chance, did you? Because it's Man United. But if you get it right, you'll be the head of one of the biggest clubs in the world, having been the person who saved them from the fire.
But I also think, though, it comes with a massive sort of risk as well. So say you're Oliver Glasner at the minute, you're getting obviously a tune out of Crystal Palace, like doing fantastic wherever they are. You go to Man United and you don't start getting results. Suddenly, then your name sort of starts to get a little bit tarnished.
Does it? People just go, the club's too big for you. You still bounce back down to a Palace without anybody being bothered.
I don't know if I just think to myself, is like, if you come in and you don't start getting results, what the club expect, then it's your reputation, isn't it? I think. And then all of a sudden, Oliver Glasner's back to that place where he's like, well, he failed at Man United. He couldn't, he doing well at Crystal Palace. Does it have that sort of effect? I don't know. But for me, I just don't know why you'd want that job at the minute. I really don't.
I guess his mindset, isn't it? At the end of the day, Glasner's out of contract with Palace, and you look across at the end of the year, he's out of contract anyway, and you look at you would have to say, take the histories out of it, right? Like, man for man, that Man United team squad is better than the Crystal Palace squad, 100%. So. And you would ask the question as well. You can say about people going to Man United. If Glasner went to Man United have got the money to go and sign Guehi next year and nick him off Liverpool. They've got the money to go in and get Adam Wharton. Like, they can go and take the best players from Palace and bring them with him. So Man United have got more money than Crystal Palace. They've got a much higher ceiling than Crystal Palace because of their brand and the sheer amount of money they can earn from a PSR point of view. And let's remember, as much as if I was Oliver Glasner looking and go, right, hang on, Erik ten Hag won the FA Cup and finished 8th at Man United, right? Now, all right, that wasn't good enough for Man United then. But bearing in mind they're currently sat in 14th or 15th, and last season they finished 16th, and they're not in Europe. Actually, I reckon Man United fans would rip your hand off if you finished 8th and got the FA Cup again, or the League Cup, or, even had quite the League Cup now, obviously thanks to Grimsby. But would rip your hand off for 8th at the minute. So, and the only reason he's not getting 8th is because Amorim's too bloody stubborn to play a proper system and pick the right team. But if I'm Glasner looking, well, if I just pick the right system and I pick the right team and I bounce them up to 6th or 7th, actually, the fans will love me this season and I'll have a shed load of cash in the summer to do whatever I want.
I still don't think it's a job that you want. And
are you honestly saying you'd stay, if you were a manager, you would choose Crystal Palace over Manchester United even now?
Right now, yeah, absolutely.
Why?
And and this is where I'm going to disagree. You said that Man United are better man for man. I don't think they are. I don't think their goalkeeper's better than Palace is. I don't think their striker's better than Palace is. I don't think that the centre backs are better than Palace is. At the minute, you're going off reputation by saying, "Oh, it's Harry Maguire, it's Delete, the international
No,
players."
I wouldn't blame Maguire at all.
I don't think that. Like, you got Gay and who's the other guy who's centre back. Like, they're miles ahead of Man United in terms of how they are.
Where he may be, I'm not sure the other one.
But
like
the left back's better than what Luke Shaw. The right back's better than whoever plays it. So right now, well, yeah, because look where Palace are. They're unbeaten in the league. Right now, at this minute in time, the prospect to stay at Palace is better, outweighs for me than Man United.
But your point about managers is crucial, right? Because there's not been a huge change. There's not been a huge change at Crystal Palace since, let's say, the end of 2020. What season would it have been? 23-24 season, right? And in that season, Crystal Palace finished 12th and Man United finished 8th. And the only difference is the coach. So they were better than Crystal Palace a year and a half ago when they had a different coach. And to your point, we're playing a proper system rather than this crazy, I'm just going to prove a point and die on a hill system. Like, so if you brought in a proper system, why would you not expect to finish above Palace? Because the year they played a proper system, they finished 4 places higher than Palace.
I get that, but I just think for where Man United are at the minute, they're a mess, and I don't.
I agree.
It's going to take someone with a lot of, like you say, it's going to be grit and determination to go in there. But for me at the minute, if I'm Oliver Glasner, the only thing that attracts me to Man United is the name. Nothing else attracts me to that.
What about the fact that Ruben Amorim is paid over 3 times more than Oliver Glasner?
Okay,
money talks, right?
Yeah, more money and the name, but apart from the squads, everything else behind the scenes is a mess.
But if I'm Glasner, I'm just going to say to him, look, go. As I said, go and we know that Guehi's going to leave in the summer, right? So if I'm Oliver Glasner, I'm going to go to Man United. You come with me. So I'll bring Guehi with me, and I'll say to Adam Wharton, you come with me as well. So I can bring my players, can't I? Because Man United have got money. Crystal Palace don't have money. Crystal Palace are always going to be forced to sell their best players.
But how much, if Man United carry on not getting into Europe, and that sooner or later the PSR rules are going to catch up with them, maybe not now because they've spent a lot of money, but you can't keep spending all this money on these players, what Man United have been doing and not getting success. They've spent a fortune on...
Yeah, but you forget how much they make. Don't forget, they dwarf every other club, apart from maybe Real Madrid. They dwarf every other club in terms of brand sales. So shirt sales, TV rights, the iconography and the name of Manchester United, they bring in way more from merchandising and marketing revenue than almost any other club in the world. So their PSR figures are vastly inflated. Like, they dwarf Manchester City.
But how much longer can you keep spending 200-300 million a season and not getting anywhere? Because that's what's happening. That's what's been happening at Man United for the last 3 or 4 years. I know Ten Hag got the FA Cup, but it's not good enough for Man United, is it? They want to be seen.
It's not, but as long as you've got the money coming in from the sales of branding and marketing, you'll always be able to spend 200 or 300 million quid. Now, sooner or later, you're going to accidentally get it right, aren't you? Like, you can't keep getting it wrong forever. Like, sooner or later, you're going to hit across a gem and bring the right person in. But
it's been since Man United have won the league for 15 years now, 16 years.
2013, Fergie went, didn't he?
So it's 16 years. We seem to think that it was yesterday, but it's 16 years since Man United won a trophy. It's a major league. All these managers that have come in and tried and failed. Even Mourinho
is good enough, because I would say, I mean, on what measure do we say that? So, by the way, if you tune in later, this is the United stand. Hello, but on what measure do you judge it's not good? Because I always hark back to, there were times I'm going to get it wrong now, but you'll know, when were Villa winning European Cups?
In 1982.
Right. So you would have said in 1982 it would be unthinkable for Villa to win absolutely nothing for the best part of 40 years. Unacceptable. But you're at a point where, but you're not, because you're at a point as a Villa fan where you're happy with what Unai Emery. Let's go back to last season. You were happy with what Unai Emery was doing last season, but at what point, you're right, does it switch from in 1982 you would have gone, this is disgusting, it's not good enough for Aston Villa to be finishing mid-table, to now I'm really happy that we had a run in the Champions League and we're finishing 6th or 7th. Was it 6th you finished? Sorry, 6th.
Yeah.
So at some point that transition has to happen, and Man United fans potentially just need to wake up and go, look, we might have the brand, we might have the sales figures. We are not Alex Ferguson's Manchester United anymore. Those days are gone. So just when it's not good enough for Man United, based on what? I mean, I don't remember, but I've read about in the 1930s when Arsenal won 6 out of 9 league trophies in the 1930s with Chapman. We're not won a league title now for 20 odd years. At what point does it become not good? Like, it's not relevant, is it? What's relevant is how good is your team, how good is your manager, and what should this team today be competing? Because part of the problem at Man United is they're always being judged by, I mean, how many pundits are ex-Man United? They're always being judged by players who won a treble or won this many Premier Leagues under Alex Ferguson or won this many champions. What? It's not a fair judgment on the players of today. When after, I mean, we all think, don't we, that 3 years is forever in football, 2 years, even 1 year is forever in football. Like, this has been 13 years of not winning anything. Like, why should it not be good enough for Man United? They're no different. I would say, and I think we talked about in the pre-season show with our predictions, we generally, without upsetting you both, agree you've got Liverpool, Arsenal and Man City on one level, and then you've got Chelsea, Tottenham, Villa, Newcastle, and probably Man United on this level. So why is not winning the league not good enough for Man United? They're not in the 3 best teams in the country. They're nowhere near the 3 best teams in the country. I'd argue that at the bottom of those 5, I'd argue Man United 8th is a good result.
But this is what I'm saying. Like to your point now, I agree with you. It's but for someone to come in and fix it, they've tried everything.
But they can't have tried everything because they've not fixed it.
To me, they've tried more or less. They've boxed off the experienced managers, the world-class managers, the unproven managers. So something's wrong, isn't it? So, but for me, if I'm Glasner, I'm looking at that Man United job and going, it's not for me.
You say that, but if you start where, if everything went right, okay, if you're a manager, you're going to assume that you're good enough to change it because obviously they all believe in themselves, right? Mourinho's and Guardiola's, they all think they're the person to change the ship. So looking at Man United and Crystal Palace just as a club, ignore the mess. If you get it right, who finishes higher? Like, if you get it right, which club has the foundations to be bigger and more successful over a prolonged period of time? It has to be Man United. They earn more money. They naturally have bigger resources, greater fan base,
but not
bigger draw.
That's the point, though.
But if they did get it, but if you're Glasner, you're going to believe you can be the person to get it right, aren't you? You're going to think you're the man, because otherwise you wouldn't be a manager. Like, all the managers want to get to the top clubs, don't they? Or get clubs back to where they should be.
But wasn't Amaran the man?
Yeah.
Well, that depends who you think, doesn't it? Like, he only ever done it in Portugal, and the fact is Glasner's doing it today in the Premier League, and it like that Crystal Palace. And if you're Crystal Palace fans, they don't hate me for suggesting Glasner should leave, because I think he's unbelievable. I mean, the job he's done at Palace, and the ethic and the system and the belief he's brought. But the thing that lacks a lot of Man United is the system and the belief of the players. But if I look at Oliver Glasner, how did he? I mean, look at that Crystal Palace team he inherited from Patrick Vieira. It was on its ass. It wasn't organised. The players didn't really win anything. There was the disruption of will Elise leave, will he not leave? Like, all that stuff that Glasner had to deal with. And look at this season. We all said, well, they're going to suffer because, like, Eze's gone and there's been disruption. And he didn't leave in the end, but they've not even skipped a beat. They've not. They're the
only unbeaten team in the Premier League at the minute.
Exactly. What the job he's done is unreal. But therefore, top clubs are going to look at that's the other thing. From a top club point of view, at what point do you look at a manager and go, right? To your point, Nate, I'm not going to go for a flashy name like an Ancelotti. I'm going to go for who is doing it today in the Premier League, because I can go and get Xavi, but he struggled at Barcelona at times, and he's never worked in the Premier League. Amarim's problem, he's never worked in the Premier League. He thinks he can do he's like Postecoglou. He thinks he can do in the Premier League what he's done in some Farmers League. Like, it's just not working. It didn't work for Postecoglou at Tottenham. It's not worked for Amarim at Man United. You've got to respect the Premier League, where every team can beat every team.
Yeah, I think for me, though, it's going to take some hard work to get it fixed, whoever is going to come in.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're a man, they need to put it in, and it's going to take a lot of heart, and it's the adaptability, because at the minute, the players are not playing for Amarim. They can't integrate into his system, and it's a dangerous combination. So for me, just before we move on to the next game, I think that he's very, very close to being dismissed.
I agree. I don't think he sees Christmas.
Well, let's move away from that. Before we just, again, credits Brentford, played really well. Some of the tactical elements that they played with made it really difficult for Man United, and fair point, good 3 points for them.
I said that though. I think
Yeah.
that Keith Andrews deserves a lot of credit because we
He
all
does,
thought
yeah.
that we were going to come in.
One that was said, I think as well, it was very, very respectful of Brian and Wemo to not only not score against his old club, but to not even get a shot on target. That was very, very generous of him. And most players go a little bit further than that when they come back where they came from. So,
right, Chelsea, Brighton.
It's just shock. Aka Buster, wasn't it? That
yeah, what a finish that was. What a last 10 minutes that was.
Nathan, you had 2-1, Phil 3-1, and I had 2 apiece. We all got it wrong. 0 points again across that.
Whoa! Don't I get half a point for 3-1? I might have got it wrong way round, but
Chalobah's red card, probably a big difference in that game. Did anyone see it?
No, but he messed my fantasy football up though. Cheers, Trev.
It was a red. I mean, I've seen the decision. In my opinion, anyway, for what that's worth, it was a red. I think. Just we keep touching on it every week, don't we? Which Chelsea gets off the bus? We get Jekyll and Hyde Chelsea every single week. I mean, just again lacks it. And the weird thing from Ireland, I saw a little bit of the match, but again, Maresca's substitutions just he's another one where it's almost like, and there's a couple of them in the Premiership at the minute where they seem to do all the prep work and the build-up work and up to the kick-off, and then it's almost like they're a passenger through to the 90th minute. Like there's no ability to manage from the touchline, to change what the team's doing, to impact the game. I think I probably had as much impact on that Chelsea game as he did. Like it just lacking all over.
It's inconsistency for me for Chelsea, isn't it? It's like, I think we all predicted before the start of the season, we thought Chelsea were going to be right up there. I'm not saying that they're not going to be, but at the minute they're having very, very inconsistent results. And I think with the squad of players that they've got, as a Chelsea fan, you must be frustrated because you know that you're capable of much better things, and to be turned over at home by Brighton isn't great. Obviously, they had the draw against Palace, the opening game of the season, and it's just not brilliant at the minute. And I think everyone thought that Chelsea, with the money that they've spent, them were going to kick on and be sort of pushing Arsenal and Liverpool all the way. It doesn't seem like that at the minute. So incredibly frustrating as a Chelsea fan that you've been turned over by Brighton. But you have to say for Brighton, what a great result. To go to Stamford Bridge, win 3-1. Again, Fabian Hurstler, we talked about linking with the Man United job. What a really good young, I think he's one of the youngest managers in the league. And he's, some people, with that pressure on their shoulders might not be able to deliver. But I think Hurstler is a very, very good young manager who's only going to improve. So I think for the Brighton result now, I think it's something that we didn't see coming. But fair play to Brighton. They went there, turned Chelsea over, and they'll push on from that. So, but yeah, if you're a Chelsea fan, you're very frustrated with the inconsistency at the minute.
Do you think Maresca's under pressure, Phil?
I think he will be if they're languishing where they are come Christmas time. Because again, I just think whilst I don't think the board are particularly fussed, I think he's doing what the board need him to do. But the board are trying to make money out of Chelsea, aren't they? You know what I mean? So he's, they've obviously won the World Club Championship. They've managed to do exactly what they want to. They're buying all and sundry young players for one price, or selling nearly all of them for double or triple what they bought them for. So they're doing what they wanted to do in terms of producing cash, and he's managed to manage the squad and keep the players happy and stuff like that. So I think as long as that's occurring, the board will be happy. But I think the weight of fan pressure might start to tell at some point. Again, I think this is the board that doesn't think a lot of their fans, but isn't particularly influenced by what their fans think, because they've got their own targets and they'll measure what they think success is against what they think success is. But obviously their driver is the money. So I think if Chelsea are bombing on the pitch and not getting towards the top Premier League places, and they're there to get the Champions League, is what we touched on at the start of the season. And I know, there are many things now he's at the top of football that Arsene Wenger gets wrong, like VAR and stuff like that. But he said it years and years and years ago, decades ago now. Fourth place is like a trophy, and he saw it coming from where the money was coming from. And I think as long as Maresca stays in the top four, he'll be fine. I think if he's not in the top four, I think the owners will start to join the fans in putting pressure on him. But he's suffering partly from that. There's not a single bit of experience in the team. they've got unbelievable talent in that team, but there's no experience. There's no shared bond of like, we've gone through this as a team. We know how to pull together. We know how to it's just not there. And it hasn't helped with Cole Palmer being injured this season. Obviously, the 2 red cards in the last 2 matches haven't helped them. But again, it's just inexperience. They've got a calamity of a goalkeeper. Why on earth? And this is this balance between the board's targets and what they should have done. Why on earth they didn't buy Donnarumma? It's just unfathomable.
Yeah, that's one of the weakest links for me, isn't it? The goalkeeper.
Yeah, and I didn't realise that Donnarumma's only 27. It's not like
it's not been around long.
Exactly, but it's not like he breaks their policy of buying young players. Like 27 is not old. Like why didn't they just go and break the bank? Why not just go and buy him?
6 years there to him now, 6 to 7 years of his best years, wouldn't you?
Yeah, there wouldn't have been any sell-on value. But you know what? You wouldn't have had to bother with goalkeepers for 6 years. Right? Where's the value to that? It would have been quite worthwhile. It's not like Sanchez's value is going up week on week, is it? So yeah, strange. But I don't think he's under pressure at the minute, because I think the board are quite relaxed that he's doing what. One of the reasons they hired him was because he was a yes man, if you remember. Potter said, I'm managing the team, I'm not doing what you tell me. Whereas Maresca basically came in his interview was, I'll do whatever you tell me, just let me know what you want me to do.
You sign whatever players you want and I'll try and make it work.
Yeah, and they like that because that suits their business model. So he's doing a lot, but I think if they continue languishing where they are and lacking in performance, then I think he'll come under a bit of
he's
a bit
quite
more
eccentric, that Todd Bowley, isn't he? Like he's not like Abramovich. Like he won't think twice to pull the trigger, whether having a good season or not. He just does it. He's quite outspoken, isn't he, Todd Bowley? So it wouldn't surprise me that if they do carry on being inconsistent by sort of the new year, it wouldn't surprise me if there was a new Chelsea manager in place.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think unless they keep languishing where they are, I think again, I think he'll feel the heat around Christmas.
Well, we had a bit of a shock result again at 3 o'clock. We had Palace beating Liverpool at home 2-1. Nice rattle for you there, Phil. Obviously,
never have I been more happy to be completely wrong in my prediction. I was hoping for a Crystal Palace win. I was hoping I got my prediction wrong. And I was super excited to hear that I'd got it wrong, to be fair. So, again, didn't see too much. I heard a bit of the match in the car. I was listening to it on the radio. And to be fair, from everything I hear, it seems like Palace were pretty good value for the win, to be honest. And I've not seen, so I won't pass comment on the, apparently Eddie Nketiah passed enough comment on some sort of handball controversy for Liverpool. But it doesn't matter in the end, does it? Because Nketiah scored. So,
the 3 points, isn't it? I think what you've got for Liverpool though, Phil, and Shaun, is that Liverpool have been riding this crest of a wave where they've been playing not to their abilities and still getting results. It seems like this was the time where they've not played to the best of their abilities and they've been caught out. Yes, I know they equalised quite late, but then the winner came even later. But for Liverpool, I'd be a little bit concerned at the point that you've got beat by Palace. It's only a matter of time. If you carry on being this inconsistent, you are going to start losing more games than what you did last season, and that's not going to be good because of, we'll come on to it soon, but Arsenal seem like they're getting, they've got it together. They've got that willingness to leave it late as well. So, yeah, for Liverpool, it wasn't great that the fact that they've lost, it was just sort of that moment where you think, well, how much longer can you carry on playing average and getting results? And this was just maybe a step too far, maybe the wrong way, but maybe this was just the game where they just that was the end of their sort of the belief that they could play shit and get 3 points.
Yeah, I think we said at the start of the season, didn't we? Arne Slot's got, it's all very well and good chucking 400-500 million quid around, but you've got to gel the players, and we said at the start of the season that
it's not gelled. They've not done.
We said at the start of the season that he's got. Again, from a sideline point of view, it looks easy. We've all played, fantasy football manager or championship manager. Like it's easy, sign the best players, win the game, but it's more complicated than that, isn't it? And you could see at the weekend, if he wasn't flipping raging with Ekatike before, I bet he was at the end of that match, because Isak's just miles off the pace. He's not had a pre-season. He's out of shape. He looked at those couple of chances that fell to Isak that have fallen to Ekatike. He scores one of them, in my opinion. And it's a big miss. For a stupid Carabao Cup sending off that was utterly pointless. Like, to miss a Premier League match for a Carabao Cup match.
Is it harsh though, Phil?
Insane.
I mean, I can't believe we're in a day and age in the sport where you get carded for taking your shirt off. As long as it's not, I think Ali McCoy said this earlier. Well, it's not of anything political, and you're just doing it out of pure emotion and celebration. I don't see what's wrong with you taking your shirt off. I don't think you should be cautioned. And it's about time we change the rules.
That's a separate debate. If you walk onto a football field and
we know the rules, we do. Yeah, I agree.
He knows the rules, and he's not a baby.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, if you know taking your shirt off gets you booked, whether you're on a yellow card or not, why the flipping heck would you take your shirt off? Wow, stupid! And I wouldn't mind so much. The first booking was stupid as well. What on earth he had to punch that ball away for? I get he was a bit pissed off, but why punch the ball? Again, you know you're going to get booked. It's just stupid, retarded behavior.
I agree.
Like,
I agree. We know the rules, but I think.
And now he's cost Liverpool. The reality of that is he's cost Liverpool 3 points in the Premier League, because I think he would have finished one of those chances.
It wasn't just Ekitike though, was it? It was the team that played average. I don't think it.
No. I know Liverpool didn't play well, and I know that Palace did play well, right? But Isak had 2 or 3 chances where, had Isak been Isak of Newcastle, or had Ekitike been fitting on the pitch, he probably scores one of them. And if Liverpool equalise much earlier in the game, then it's probably a completely different second half. And that's, well, we'll never know, will we? It's sliding doors. But my point is, it's just reckless, bad discipline from Ekitike, and his team have possibly suffered because of it, because everybody knows, or everybody knew, regardless of what happened in the match, Isak was not fit to play 90 minutes. Yeah. So it was a stupid thing to do. And to some degree, flags, to your point about the Arsenal-Liverpool thing, how much more strength in depth Arsenal have over Liverpool. Liverpool have an unbelievable first 11. Do they have as much depth as Arsenal? And, the season's going to tell us that, innit? But I think that was part of the issue this weekend, is it showed that at the minute, while Isak's not fit, Liverpool don't currently have the depth that they need to get through those difficult matches when Palace are flying on the crest of a wave. Is that a thing? I don't know. They're doing something, but they're definitely on a high. And
Arteta, if you're Arteta though, you're celebrating that just as much as you're celebrating an Arsenal victory.
Listen, Arteta sold Nketiah for Crystal Palace for that result. You know what I mean? Planned it last season. It was all in the plan.
But we'll see. I think Liverpool. I mean,
the thing is, it's really interesting 6 weeks coming up, because they've got much tougher fixtures than Arsenal for the next 6 weeks.
Well, this is going to be a test of character now, just to see how well they're going to be prepared, because they're going to have to up the game. They can't keep, like I say, it was just not a step too far, but this was just one game where there wasn't at the races and they got done. So they need to sharpen up a little bit. They need to sharpen up a bit more than what they have been, and start being that dominant and getting results and not looking shaky at the back and being solid, like a bit like what Arsenal are at the minute, where you feel like if you're going to get a goal past Arsenal, it's got to be a well-worked goal. It can't be anything soft. So it's
just pushing the defender in the back.
It's a tough one to take. It's for a Palace fan, you're absolutely amazing, because like we were just touching, Oliver Glasner is doing, for me at the minute, what a job this guy's doing. Everything he's touching is turning into gold. And Palace are, the only unbeaten team in the Premier League. So you look at that and you go, well, where can Palace go this season? They have a good go in the Conference League. It's still early days with them playing Sunday, Thursday, but let's see where they go.
I think Palace have almost become the modern day Leicester, haven't they? In terms of become everybody's second favourite club. Do you know, we all kind of want Palace to do well.
I don't like them because they've hammered Villa for the last 2 years, but I do appreciate the job.
That's a long list, isn't it? I mean, but you don't like anybody based on that criteria.
I do appreciate the job he's doing, and I think he's doing a fantastic job, and I think they have got some very, very good, exciting players. So yeah, for me as the neutral, you want to see Crystal Palace beating Liverpool.
But we want to. Well, the thing is, and I know I'm selfish in this world, but I think in general, we all want a title race. Do you know what I mean? And I'll tempt fate now, but even if Arsenal weren't in it, I want a title race to go into April. I don't want to be listening to in March or in late February that all we've got to look forward to is a relegation battle. I want a battle at both ends of the league. Do you know? And I don't want to have to. And I know last season, it was really interesting, the European places and Forest run, and we wanted a title race, and it wasn't what we all wanted last season. Not forget who won. We wanted a title race, and there was no title race last season, and it was just sad. So we want a title race. So for the good of the Premier League, We want a title race, and obviously for the good of Arsenal maintaining the only invincible season ever. Happy Invincibles Day, everybody.
Leeds Bournemouth 2-apiece. Longstaff, I've seen him get a goal, ex-Newcastle player.
It was a bit of it was a great goal and from a special one. So
It was a nice finish, a very nice finish.
I think again, my brother-in-law Reece will be listening, who's a big Leeds fan. I think from his perspective, I think it was a little bit hard on Leeds to obviously not come away with 3 points. I think it just shows though is that you can be dominant, you can be that, but you switch off, or you give a team half a yard in the Premier League and you will get punished. And it's just that's the reality that Leeds. But again, I think they're doing everything right at the minute. Well, I think all the maybe Burnley. I think you look at Sunderland and Leeds, they're doing everything right at the minute. They're fighting and take away the result they had against Arsenal, but they're fighting, the battling. The home form is going to be key, and I think as a Leeds fan, or we'll come on to Sunderland soon. You can't ask more than that. That they come in to the Premier League, and everyone thought that they were going to be whipping boys, but it's been far from it. It's been really, really positive to see the promoted teams come up, or at least two of them come up and give it a really good go, and sort of we can mix it in with the big boys, but to be 2-1 up and then concede in the 93rd minute, at any time, it's horrible, isn't it? Last minute goal, equalisers, winners, whatever, it is hard to take. So probably a little bit hard on Leeds because the probably did deserve to win, but you just can't switch off in this league because you will get punished.
I tell you what, sorry for the slight diversion. We are live tonight, right? Oh wait, well, there's some breaking news. Apparently, Alisson's just come off injured for Liverpool. That could be big in the title race, depending how injured he is. But they're losing, as we all know. But yeah, Alisson off injured could be intriguing. But no, you're absolutely right, Nate. You can't switch off for a minute in the Premier League. I think if you're a Leeds fan, you've got to be super proud of the way you played going forward. I think it was a really good display. Let's say Longstaff scores a lovely goal.
It's really a good player, Longstaff. Do you think Longstaff's his element? Do you think if it's in there, Shaun? Obviously,
yeah, I do. I think it was a genuinely really smart signing by Leeds. You've got a player that's comfortable playing at centre midfield. He's got plenty of experience.
Got a goal in him.
He does. He creeps up the goals at vital moments. He's done it time and time again for Newcastle. So yeah, I wish him well at Leeds. I think it's great that he's playing well in the scoring. And before we move away from Leeds Bournemouth, just give you the scores that you both predicted for that game, and we finally got a point scored because we've had none so far. Phil correctly predicted 2-apiece, 4 points.
Hey, get in! Good old Desmond.
Before you got time to boast, let's move on. Man City Burnley 5-1. Haaland gets 2 and assist. Fantasy masterclass again by yourself, Phil. Her.
Oh, do you know what? What a blinding week to get Haaland in and captain there. Flipping heck. I was thinking it was quite an ordinary match with about 5 minutes to go, and then bang, bang, there we go. Double header. Well, not headers, obviously, but what a inspired fantasy fit. But I think we all called. I think it was a strange one for Burnley. But it was a strange one for Burnley. It was a bit like, and you just touched on it before, and it's a bit like the Leeds performance at Arsenal. Like somehow you managed to concede 5, but not be embarrassed. Do you know what I mean? And I feel that Leeds at Arsenal was the same thing. You conceded a lot of goals, but not really embarrassed in terms of performance. And that's what I felt about Burnley. Really, I don't think they were embarrassed in the performance. I just think Man City just had too much firepower. Haaland, fundamentally, we can talk about Gyökeres, we can talk about Isak, we can talk about whoever you want.
But in the modern day, he's brilliant to watch, isn't he? He's like everything.
He's just the ultimate striker, and this year, he's added to his game. He's only a baby still, isn't he? Like he's added to his game. He's actually getting involved before the ball gets to the front, which he just never ever did before. So I think that's frightening that he's actually adding things to his game when he was already the most prolific striker in the world. Like
I think what I like about him, Phil, is when you, and I'm not just talking about Haaland, but when you look at a world-class striker, they're just one step ahead of the defender, aren't they? They know where the ball's going to be. They know what they need to do. They know the positions they need to be in. And every time I watch Haaland, he just knows. It's like he's there. And I know he had a bit of an off-season. He still scored how many goals. He's just gone, I need to up my game again. I need to get back to where I was the first couple of seasons at Man City. But you can just see when world-class players know them. They know what positions, whether you're in whatever position you're in, you know where you need to be. So as a striker, you know in that box where you need to be, where you're going to anticipate the ball. And I think that's why Haaland is one of the best in the world at the minute. And it's nice to see him back. It wasn't a shot that they beat Burnley. I think Burnley would be looking at that result, to your point, Phil, where you're saying we got beat 5-1, but let's move on from that. This is a free hit that we know we're going to get beaten.
100%.
We know we're going to get. But the one thing I would say from a Burnley perspective is that you're looking at Leeds and Sunderland. I think Burnley are on 4 or 5 points, and Sunderland and Leeds are slightly higher. You're looking at it going, well, they're picking up points and we're not. So that's the one thing I would be saying. If I was Scotty Parker, just look at the attitude that Leeds and Sunderland are showing. We've got the players capable of getting a result. But
I think you look at Burnley.
Game against Man City, it was nothing more than a free hit.
Yeah, but yeah, you're absolutely right. There's no way Burnley came up. Any of the teams coming up think they go into the Etihad or to the Emirates or to Anfield and getting points. But to your point about Burnley's is ill-discipline. They should have had a point against Man United and they should have had a point against Liverpool. And if they'd been disciplined, they'd be 6 points, not 4 points, and that bounces them about 3 or 4 places up the league. So they'll get those they'll get those errors bottomed out, and it's all part and parcel of being a new division, isn't it? And working out how it all works. But
City back, Phil, challenging.
They're looking good.
City back though, Phil, challenging. Obviously, putting a bit more pressure on your boys in Liverpool. You think so?
Who is what City? No, yeah, no chance. No chance. They're no, I say no chance. I mean, obviously Manchester City, so you can never actually rule Manchester City out of anything because they've got unbelievable individuals. And you know what? If you can get Foden firing, if Doku plays as well as he did against Arsenal, if Haaland, I mean, the fact is, you can be getting battered for 92, 93 minutes. Haaland only needs that split second, and you've won the match 1-0. So, Manchester City will always be a threat. I just feel that they've got. I just feel they've got more bad results in them than Arsenal and Liverpool at the minute. I just thought they're still not quite back to where they were 2 years ago. And a part of that, I would imagine, will change as Rodri gets up to speed. I think that will change as Rodri ticks over. And if Rodri gets up to speed quickly, then I think it could still...
I agree, but
I think the biggest.
Him, I don't think.
No, I don't think so. But I think the biggest. It'll come down to mentality, won't it, and grinding out results. Because I think the biggest telltale was quite simply how Man City played against Arsenal. I know Pep's all about mind games, but he didn't choose to play like that because he thought he had the better team. He chose to play like that because he knew he didn't have the better team. And it'll be interesting to see how Manchester City set up at Liverpool as to whether or not they feel they can go at Liverpool or whether they do the same thing and play more defensively against Liverpool like they did against Arsenal. But they'll grind out a shitload of points this season. We know they will, but I think they've still got a dodgy result in them, like the result against Brighton. I still don't think they look quite right at the back. And Donnarumma's
the weak area.
Yeah, and Donnarumma's going to help that from a keeping goals out point of view again over the season.
You're only as good as your defenders, though, Phil, as a goalkeeper, in my opinion. I think you're only as good as the defenders you've got in front of you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. His impact will be more interesting to see how he affects how Manchester City attack, because obviously Ederson was a huge part of what they did.
When you know that you've got a really good, a world-class, and I think, personally, I think that Donnarumma is probably in the top 2-3 goalkeepers in the world at the minute. So I think when you know that you've got a keeper behind you there, it gives you, even if you're defender and you have a few shaky moments, when you know that you've got a world-class keeper there, it does give you a bit of confidence. Like, if one sort of deflects off you or trickles off you, or you're a bit short on a half a yard, you've got confidence that keeper's going to do all he can to try and save the ball or to make a challenge or whatever. So I think that can boost morale in a team, in my opinion. So like you say, I don't think City have got the best defence than what they've had previously, but knowing that they have a world-class keeper behind them maybe gives them a little bit of a confidence boost as well.
I think so. I think as he settles in, as he gets more comfortable, I think he'll find his feet. I mean, obviously, challenging, wasn't it? Because he is clear. clearly his stats show he's an amazing shot stopper. But you know, from what we've seen in the Premier League, he's already cost them 2 points because the Martinelli goal was entirely his fault, the shit positioning. So, like anything, he just needs to settle in, get to know his defenders. But I think over the course of the season, we both know, obviously we talked before, Nate, me and you suffered last season with the fact Donnarumma was unbeatable in the Champions League. So, you know, he's going to add so much solidity defensively. Again, I would just say it just depends how much that affects their attack. But I just think they're going to play a very different brand of football this year. I think Pep's recognised he doesn't have the players to play what his first choice of system is. So he's adapted. And I mean, again, we go back to the conversation at the start about Amorim. You know, Pep Guardiola is the best manager in the world. He's not too proud to change his system because he recognises he's got to adapt his system to fit his players, and he's done it straight away.
Absolutely.
So I do think City were thereabouts. I don't think so. I think City, for me, right here, right now, City nailed on third place.
Talking of system changes, Forest are undergoing a massive one, given the fact that they've had a massive shift in management and obviously big issues there. They lost 1-0 to Sunderland. At home to Sunderland. Nathan 0-0, Phil 1 apiece, Soph 1 apiece. Did anybody watch this one?
No, but it wasn't. I think for Postecoglou coming in, replacing Nuno, who did such an amazing job at Forest. I think Postecoglou's come in, and I think when obviously I actually watched them play midweek in Europe, and I thought the first half at Betis, I thought they were fantastic. I thought they played some really, really positive football. But the reality is playing fantastic football sometimes and you're not getting the results, and the pressure does get a little bit on you. I know he's only just been appointed manager, but the fact that it's 5 games in and he hasn't got a win, as a Forest fan, you're thinking, wow, you know, this guy's come in with all the chat, with all the confidence that he can do something, and we ain't won in 5 games, which is slightly worrying because you look at the table now, and I'll come on to it in a little bit, but for as bad as everyone's saying that, you know, for teams like my team, Villa, Forest, they're with us. So, and you're thinking to yourself, you know, we've had an horrendous start, but these guys just don't seem like they can just pick up that win. And as a Forest fan, you must be frustrated because the squad that they've got is a very, very good squad. They've got a lot of players capable of getting results on the pitch. So if you're Postecoglou, you're thinking to yourself, well, you know, I need to get that win under my belt. That first win is really important, isn't it? A bit like, we'll come on to Villa soon, but obviously Unai Emery got his first win on the weekend. That's what you want to have. Once the win comes, it'd be interesting to see where Forest go. Because again, Marinakis, even though like he's just appointed Postecoglou, if it's going wrong, he won't hesitate. He's very ruthless. He will pull that trigger, whether you've been in charge for a month or whether you've been in charge for 10 years. He will pull that trigger. But it's just frustrating as a Forest fan because you're thinking to yourself, 5 games in and we haven't got a win. So, but
is it just a transition period then? Do we think it's just going to take time for Big Ange's rub off to effect?
I think if you look at how Nuno sets up and you look at how Postecoglou does, 2 very different managers, and when, like, we've had this conversation with the Man United talk as well, is when you're a manager and you want to go in and stamp your authority at a club, it is hard when you are being used to playing a certain way. I'm not saying it's impossible because a lot of managers go in and do stamp their eventual authority on it. It does take time, but at the minute, what you're looking at is a team like Forest for the money that they've spent, because they've spent a lot of money this season. The winless in 5, and you know, the longer you don't win, the worse that confidence that you don't have that confidence of where before you could get a result. And I think to myself, I think it's a transition period. I do think that Postecoglou will get results eventually, but at what cost of, or how long is it going to be? Because, like I say, Marinakis will want results. He's backed the team. He's going to want to see results. So yeah, maybe it is a transition period, but it's the Postecoglou effect again, isn't it?
Phil, what do you think? Do you think Sunderland have come into the Prem? They've hit the ground running this year, haven't they? This season, they're picking up some great points.
They have, you know, and they've showed some faith and some support for the manager. They've spent a lot of money. Seems that they spent the money very well. You know, say what I said to you at the start of the season. Granit Xhaka, you know, is pivotal for them. The
Good player.
leadership, the touch, the drive, the encouragement, and he showed it again at the weekend. And I think they've got a really, really solid team. They're really well organised, and they've got unbelievable support at home. Like Nathan said, the home form's going to be absolutely crucial. And obviously, getting results in other places away from home is just going to, be the cherry on top of the cake, isn't it? Really, but at the minute, riding high as the best team in the northeast, aren't they? Flying. So they're just really well organised,
Knock it, Phil.
and they look solid. They look like they got belief. And fair play. It's a really good start for them, and it takes a start like that. I mean, God Almighty, if you said to them at the start of the season, coming regardless of what happens this weekend. Well, it's your point, Nathan, about Burnley. Regardless of anything else, this weekend's a free hit for them. Like going to Old Trafford and take the points they've got now. If you'd have said they'd have had that going into the second international break,
11 points they're on at the minute. I think
so. They'd have absolutely ripped your arm off to have that. Like 6 games in. I mean, bearing in mind, 40 points for safety. It's a brilliant start for them. And let's face it, we all think. Well, it's next week. It's next show, isn't it? But we all think they've got a great chance going to Man United because what we said at the start of the show, at this show, Man United struggle against organised teams, and Sunderland are organised. So, and they'll work hard and they'll push them. So, I think cracking start for them. I think, we touched on it last week. Just bizarre, megalomaniacal decision from Marinakis, and is already seemingly showing that it's maybe not the smartest decision he ever had. To be fair, and I think, Nuno going into West Ham, and we'll come on to it, but already looking like he's had an impact or having an impact on the squad there. I think Marinakis could end up coming out of this looking like a bit of a wally. I'm not going to lie. Postecoglou doesn't look like the confident Postecoglou who started at Tottenham. He looks more like the fed up Postecoglou who finished at Tottenham, and just seems a bit flat, really. And I think Marinakis could end up looking a bit daft for this one. I'm not going to lie, but no, Sunderland got exactly what they deserved. It was a really good performance, and Forest's got some work on the training pitch over the international break, I think.
Yeah, good 3 points for Sunderland. We had Spurs, Wolves, 1 apiece that finished. Nathan 3-0, Phil 2-0, and myself, I know, sorry, I'm spilling my words here, and I had 3-0 for a Spurs win. Thoughts on that one, Phil?
Absolutely shambolic. Absolutely. Do you know what? I played my fantasy football wild card, chucked 3. Well, I already had 1 Spurs player, chucked 2 extra Spurs players in there. Thought this is it now. Spurs at home against bottom of the table. This has got demolition job written all over it. What an absolute farce! Oh my days! And I tell you what, already up there, and I think he's been playing quite well, to be fair, but already up there for the most embarrassing moment of the season has to be Paulinho for. Ripping his shirt off and celebrating like he just scored the World Cup winner for equalising at the bottom of the table. What on earth? But just shambolic. I mean, again, I feel sorry for that. Again, Thomas Frank, welcome to Spurs. And, because he must be wondering what he did to deserve that performance. Like, just not.
But they've got a point on in there. I think
at home against bottom of the table.
I know, but I think
the team was going to get relegated. Like, if that happened to Villa, or that happened to Newcastle, or it happened to Arsenal, we would all be raging. So to say they got a point, nah, come on. If you're a Spurs fan, you must be fuming.
But I think they equalised quite late on, didn't they? I think obviously as the game goes on and you're not scoring, to get a point rather than not get anything is obviously something that you would look at. You'd have took it at 18 minutes.
Of course, 1 point is better than no point, and I'm not going to deny that. Obviously, 1 point, but if you would have been pretty gutted as a Tottenham fan walking out of that stadium on the weekend, because you must have been thinking, if you had a young and away, you must have thought that's the game I'll take them to. That's a guaranteed 3-pointer right there. Do you know?
We've lost Nathan there,
I don't think Nate agreed with me. No, I think if you're a Spurs fan, you must be disappointed. There's no other reason. There's no other way to feel, is there? You're playing a club in the relegation zone who's struggling, and you're at home. And I think the thing that would, I suppose, to Nathan's point, the thing that the only bit of cheer you find trying to take from a silver lining perspective is your team didn't give up. They kept on battling. And they did get a point from it at the end of the day. So I suppose there's your silver lining, but just not enough from Spurs. Still not enough from Wolves. Didn't show. I still don't think we saw enough of the Wolves who played against Newcastle. And like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, it's the Spurs who played against Newcastle. The Wolves who played against Newcastle. That we need to see if Wolves have got any chance of staying up. So,
I guess time will tell. Well, Nathan's briefly disappeared. I don't know where he's gone. I'm hoping he's back any minute. But yeah, Villa beat Fulham 3-1. Phil, where do you stand with that?
They finally put a performance in. And you know what, they showed a lot of heart, a lot of character. Still wasn't really the full flowing Villa we saw probably middle of last season when it was silky football and all that. But Buendia looked like he had a good game. Watkins was working hard. He's got his goal. McGinn played well. Again, it was the sort of performance I guess you need when your season's not going well, when you're trying to drag your form back up by simply working hard. And it did seem like they'd taken Emery's criticism on board and worked harder. But again, it's a difficult one if you're a Fulham fan, because I think absolute stonewall penalty not awarded. And again, we'll come on to, I guess, many things on Sunday around VAR that were calamitous, but that has to be right up there, because when I saw it first with naked eye, I thought, no way he's dived. No way as in he has dived. There's no way that's a penalty. It looked like he was going down. It looked like he threw himself. But then you watched it. And fair enough, you go, right, referee, I get what you've meant to. But VAR, you can see that Martinez, he's putting his foot. You can see Martinez takes his foot out before he can put his standing foot down, and that's why he falls so early, because he gets his foot taken out before he can plant it. So he's going as it's plant his foot, and then just keeps on going. So again, if I'm Marco Silva, I'm probably completely losing faith in VAR at this point in time. Bear in mind what they've seen this season, but Villa did exactly what they needed to do. They put in a really, really good shift, some really hard graft. Rode their luck and got what they needed, and it's on such things the season's turn, because they've got confidence now and a bit of momentum. And I mean, I guess in a way, if they have a good result this weekend, it's a shocking time for the international break for them, to be fair. Because they're just hitting a bit of momentum, and we'll see if they can keep up in Europe this week. But like I say, nothing stellar, but exactly what they needed to get the win on the board, put the performance in, show the effort, get the fans back on side. So all ticks for Villa. But as I say, if you're Fulham, you're raging at the refereeing decisions again, because how that's not a penalty is quite unbelievable, really. But
there's been a lot of questionable refereeing decisions over the start of the season. Bearing in mind we're only 6 games and there's been more than a handful, more than a dozen, to be fair, of dodgy decisions that have gone against.
It's unbelievable how badly wrong they can get it.
Yeah. When he came on as a sub, he had a good impact. Got himself an assist as well.
He looked good. He looked good when he was on the pitch, and I think that'll help. Again, Sancho, Elliott, Buendia, if they can get Rodgers fired, they've got a lot of creativity in that midfield. It's one of them anyway. You've got enough players, you would think, right, 1 or 2 are clicking, we're going to be all right. And they've just been through a patch where none of them have been clicking. Yeah. And on top of that, Watkins hasn't been taking his chances. So, like I say, this could be the turning point where they get a bit of confidence and they get their back in the game, because like I say, that's what they need. The weekend and this weekend coming, it's all about the result for Villa. This weekend coming will be interesting, because last season they were appalling every week after Europe. So can they do it again after a week in Europe? But no, it was a workmanlike and effective performance from Villa at the weekend, I think.
Well, Nathan's not joined us, so let's move on to the big talking point of the Sunday game, which was obviously your boys came
gunned down some Magpies.
Yeah.
Just feathers and gore. That's all I have to see left of your team at the end of it.
In all fairness to you, Phil, I watched back our prediction show from last week, and other than the 2-0 score that you predicted, you were absolutely spot on with how you thought that game was going to go out. So fair play for that. I had one all draw. Nathan had a 1-1 draw for that one as well. Yeah, to be fair, it was a good watch. It was a good watch. It's just
It was certainly better than our
fucking
outing against
annoying.
Manchester City. I'll give you that. But I think, as I said to you in the pre-show, I think you probably enjoyed watching that game far more than I did because I think as I said to you on the group in between, I think if you got Les Ferdinand in the post-match saying it would have been a smash and grab and the pure banditry of Newcastle left with the points, and he's not exactly a neutral witness, is he? But I think Arsenal showed just how good they can be at playing football. Newcastle showed just how organised and how solid they are in defence, and how effective they are in counter-attack. It looked like job done, didn't it? It was mostly one-way traffic, but the only score that really matters is the score. And then I think Arsenal just, again, it's been talked a lot about, hasn't it? Kind of Liverpool doing what they need to do, win matches that they shouldn't win, or that they have to work hard for. And I think to show that, again, just like against Man City, the boys didn't give up trying, didn't give up doing anything different. Probably managed to get their heads back into the game in terms of what they would have thought was an unjust decision, and forget what we think. Like the players certainly would have thought it was an unjust decision. But still, somehow, they lost their heads for about 10 minutes after that. I think you could see the Arsenal performance after the penalty or non-penalty. They did kind of lose their way a bit, but they managed to drag themselves back to concentrate. And yet, it was a really good game of football. I think, like we said on last week's show, Newcastle always give us a rough ride up at St James's Park, and did so again. And we had to work really hard all the way through. But I think, it was good to see that that the Arsenal players could compete in that environment and get past some of the previous results and focus on the fact that it was the here and now and needed to win the match and put some pressure on Liverpool, which, like I say, we all want that from a title race point of view. Probably you didn't from a this weekend point of view, but I think in terms of the game itself, it's Voltemade did exactly what you bought him to do. Cause mischief in the area. Gabriel far too soft. Do you know what I mean? There's absolutely nothing in that touch from Voltemade. It's just good positional play. Literally only puts his hands on him. He didn't even push him, to be fair. He's just steadying himself ready to jump, and Gabriel knows he's out of position and just throws himself on the ground. So absolutely fine. Clear goal, well taken, well worked corner. Ironically, obviously, we worked exactly the same corner again to get the equaliser, and did exactly the same thing back to you. And then Arsenal doing, I guess, what Arsenal have done for the last couple of years, and set piece mastery in it, corner good as a penalty, as a friend of mine used to say, and just I think probably if you're a Newcastle fan, I mean you are obviously, but if I was sat where you're sat, I'm probably saying, well, Gabriel's lucky to be on the pitch. If Voltemade goes down, and I'm not daft enough to not see that. I do think, probably, I don't think I do think the Pope penalty decision was wrong. I do think the Gabriel penalty decision was right. But I think if you're a Newcastle fan, I know you've been frustrated with him before. I think I'm raging at Nick Pope as to why the fuck he kicked that ball straight down the centre to an Arsenal player.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if he just falls over and holds onto the ball, that match is a draw.
Yeah.
Or if he even boots the ball far enough that it just goes up and under and straight to Raya, it's a draw. But for some reason, he plays a beautiful pass to an Arsenal defender on the halfway line, and suddenly you're under pressure again and facing an attack. It absolutely bizarre. I mean, when he hit it that fast, and it went to an Arsenal player, even I was like, what on earth is he doing? Like, and I couldn't believe he'd done it. And he probably undid in 94 minutes of amazing performance in that one kick, really. But yeah, like I say, absolute ding dong match, full of incident, full of controversy, full of apart from the Gabriel thing, which was just outrageous. I think in general, two teams honestly just going at each other. Both teams went. And what I did like about it was when Arsenal did equalise, both teams were going for the win. Yeah. Newcastle didn't just drop back into shape and let Arsenal attack them. Arsenal didn't suddenly put 4 extra defenders on and go, yeah, we're happy with that. It was both teams wanted that 3 points. So yeah, I think it was a really, really good game. My take on it, and we did what we needed to do. We had to put that pressure on Liverpool. I think both from a points pressure on the table, But more importantly, I think from a psychological point of view from the team, I think it was interesting, wasn't it, this early in the season? Everyone bangs on about it's a swing weekend and all that shit. But fundamentally, everyone's talking about, Newcastle's a bogey ground for Arsenal. Liverpool are unstoppable. It's going to be an 8-point gap. The title race is over already, and suddenly blink and all calms down. Like there's only 2 points in it. Actually, Liverpool have got the tougher fixtures coming up over the next 6 games. And like I say, I don't know where it's going to end up with this Alisson hobbling off tonight, but
could have a big impact, wouldn't it?
Well, like I say, I think Liverpool's current weakness, not big weakness, current weakness is squad depth. If they get a couple of key injuries, and I know we're all extremists these days, and it's all about sound bites, but I don't think there's many people in this country who, if Van Dijk got injured for a couple of months, wouldn't think Liverpool's challenge is over. And that's a bad place to be. I know that because Arsenal have been in that place for the last few years when it's been, Saka gets injured, we can't score. It's awful because when that injury comes, as a fan, you're just like, it's just we can't do it. We knew as Arsenal fans last season we had no strikers. Like it was just done. We could put up a plucky effort, but it wasn't enough. And I think if Van Dijk got injured, I think he's far more important than Mo Salah. But no, I think fantastic match to watch between Arsenal and Newcastle. Like I say, I wish I could have enjoyed more of it because I watched the whole match mainly from behind a cushion, thinking, why the hell haven't we scored? But yeah, it was. I nearly threw my little girl out the window when we scored in excitement. She was not impressed with me. But fantastic finish to the weekend for me.
Yeah, you touched on there. Pope stupidly releasing the ball when he didn't need to. You could have, like you said, sat on that ball, hold it. Instead, he gave away the ball, and it resulted in the the corner punished us. Extremely frustrating. Yeah, good to see Baltimore again getting a goal. It pretty much was the game of set pieces. There was. I think both teams were nervous whenever they were defending each other when it came to the set pieces. But
a lot of big guys on the pitch, weren't there? A lot of height on that pitch.
Yeah, there was a lot of height, a lot of height, and a lot of physicality. Yeah, a game with many chances. Yeah, just annoying. I thought we deserved a point. To be fair, thought we deserved a point. Yeah, I thought we played well enough for a point. Yeah, I really do.
Have you seen the stats?
Still, different in it. If Pope's penalty is given, then it's a different game altogether at that stage. It should have been a penalty. To be fair, it should have been.
My issue with that, what on earth is VAR doing? If it takes you 6 minutes to decide, then it's not clear and obvious. So you should, and that's before we even debate the toe or not the toe, the deflection or not the deflection. Like, if you're taking 6 minutes to find that, then it's not a clear and obvious error. And it was exactly the same. And with the Gabriel one, the referee said no penalty. If you're looking at it for 3 minutes, it's clearly not clear and obvious. So if it's not clear and obvious, then for me, VAR should have a 30-second time limit. If the VAR want to tell the referee, we're looking at this, they should have 30 seconds, and the 30 seconds should be an end of. Should be. They don't have to make a decision. Or it's wait 30 seconds at the end of which they say to the referee, go to the monitor or play on. That should be it, because anything more than that means it's not clear and obvious. And that's what we're all looking for. Is that objectivity? So if you went right, you've got 30 seconds, go. And even if the referee gets a screen, at that point, VAR shouldn't be allowed to talk to him, because if it's clear and obvious, the referee shouldn't need the VAR to talk to him, because you just go, right, show him the replay. Because if he's made it clear and obvious ever, the ref should be able to see it on the replay. And if he looks at a replay and goes, well, I can't see anything wrong with that, but VAR aren't allowed to talk to him, then he just goes, I'm happy with my decision, on I go. And it should be as simple as that, and that would speed the game up, because those decisions, and both of them, they're agonising as fans, aren't they? Agonising. And then, to make it worse, if you're a Newcastle fan, you must have been bloody fuming that VAR didn't look at the Voltemada one.
Yeah.
Like, why not? I mean, I was watching the replay, and I was like, why is it? I was obviously praying it wasn't, because I was like, he's in fucking trouble here. Like, but I'm watching it, like, they're not even reviewing it. Like, why? He's punched him in the face. Like, it's as clear violent conduct as you're ever going to see. Like, And yet the referee's talking to them both for ages with the game stopped. And VAR's like, oh, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Like, you don't need anything to see he's punched him. Like, it's clear. No wonder Voltemaro's pissed off and didn't shake his hand.
Yeah.
But
Frustrating. Really frustrating.
lack of consistency again. But
something that's happened with VAR. It's been dreadful this year. Like we mentioned earlier, and we mention every week about how poor some of the decisions are. Yeah, it just needs looking at. It needs sorting because it's ridiculous. The consistency is just not there with it.
do you know what I would do if I would? You know what I'd do to prove a point? I was Howard Webb, right? Or not Howard Webb. If I was like, right, Howard, I'm going to prove your point here. Right? I'm going to fix VAR. Okay, how are you going to do it? Right. All I'm going to do is I'm not going to tell anybody. What I'm going to do is I'm going to at the kick off of all the matches. I'm just going to lock. I'm going to get out the VAR truck, lock it, and I'm going to go and have some tea. And you watch. Nobody will complain about VAR all weekend because it just won't be there, and no one will even know. No one will give a shit. You know, if there's a decision that's gone wrong, ref can just call VAR, said, don't look at it. And yeah, that's fine. You just might as well save yourself the time and effort.
Well, yeah. Well, we had a treat. We had Monday Night Football match yesterday. We had Everton
At last.
at home to West Ham. Obviously, a little bit of a caveat with our predictions from last week because there has been obviously a shift in the
Yeah, that was a con.
managerial services. We finished one apiece. We all put an Everton win down. We all put 2-0.
Yeah, and I think you know what? I think had Potter still been in charge, I saw enough last night that I would have expected it to be 2-0, but he's back.
He's back, so bear with me.
But yeah, I think had are we there? Is he in? I think had Potter still been in charge, I think you'd find that it would have been 2-0. You know, again, Grealish and Dewsbury Hall looked really dangerous linking up, and they've got a really good little connection going on there. I think if Everton actually had a striker who didn't look gormless, then they might look a little bit more dangerous. And they looked more dangerous when that Barry came on. I think, to be fair to Beto, he put a shift in, but he just looks helpless when he gets the ball. Like, it was great off the ball, and then he gets the ball and it all goes wrong. But you know, I think Tarkowski was lucky to avoid a second yellow, which would have been interesting. But his first yellow probably shouldn't have been a yellow, to be fair. So yeah, it was a good old game. And I think, you know, to the commentary we had earlier about Amorim and systems and impact and managers, and you know, Nuno's been there 5 minutes, well, 48 hours, but you can already see the difference in the team in 48 hours. They were structured differently. They were set up differently. They were motivated differently. They were, you know, he made. You know, I don't know if you saw the match or I watched the match, and you know, he sent them out. I think they only had 7 minutes in the changing room, and he sent them back out onto the pitch early. You can tell he was fuming, and you could see it in the second half performance. They absolutely upped their game.
From Bowen, Phil.
You what? Sorry.
Good goal from Bowen as well, apparently.
Oh, it was a cracking strike, you know, and kind of them where if anyone's going to score the first goal under a new manager's regime, it's going to be Bowen, isn't it? Because I think he's motivated by his father-in-law as much as anything else. But no, like I said, West Ham played really, really well, far more organised in defence. You can tell they still don't have enough quality players that you would like to get to where Nuno took Forest last season, but they've got more than enough quality to be staying in this division. And all they need is organisation, leadership, and I think again Nuno's in a good place for him. You know what I mean? He was phenomenal at Wolves. He was phenomenal at Forest. I think he'd be phenomenal at West Ham. Tottenham maybe was too big for him because the fans just have weird demands of attacking football all the time. And whereas I think West Ham are going to get some of what they want. Nuno's probably slightly more expansive than David Moyes, but he's going to know how to organise them in defence. And I think there was enough on show on Monday. I think, you know what? It was the right shout. Potter was just helpless. And just didn't know what to do with it. Whereas Nuno already looks like he's had an impact in the 40. Unfortunately, from my point of view, that's very sad and disappointing because, you know, Arsenal got West Ham at the weekend, and West Ham are a bogey team of ours at the best of times without a new manager bound to help them out. But yeah, no, it was a really good game.
Yeah.
So
sorry, I'm just lost. You know, so I've just lost.
Yeah, it was, like I say, and like I say, you know, Grealish and Dewsbury Hall looked really good on that left-hand side for Everton.
Jude picked up a yellow card, and now he's missing. He's got 5 now, so he's missing the next game.
Unbelievable! What an absolutely outrageous decision. I felt like punching the pitch for him, honestly. What an unbelievable. I mean, it literally just a 50-50. At best, a 50-50. And he wins the ball. You know, it's literally just they both kick opposite sides at ball, and the other guy falls over. Unbelievable.
He put some out on his socials, basically highlighting the fact that he was booked last week for taking a free kick too quickly. And he's picked up obviously another yellow card, which is just unbelievable.
Ridiculous decision.
Shocking refereeing the last week and this week. Unbelievable, he gets booked for that. Genuinely unbelievable. Just an awful decision. And yeah, rightly, I'm not surprised he's frustrated and pissed off on his socials because, like I say, he misses a match now, and by rights he should be on 3 yellow cards. So yeah, not one for the referee to watch back on his highlight reel. But no, it was, like I said, a decent match. As I say, Everton just lacking a cutting edge and a striker. And West Ham, I think we'll see, hopefully not this weekend, but I think we'll definitely see a bounce after, regardless of the Arsenal score. I think we'll definitely see a bounce after the international break when Nuno's had a bit of time on the training pitch and got his feet full in the table. So I think a really canny and a really clever switch by West Ham to pounce on Nuno while he was available, really, because
the right plan to pull the trigger when it fell for West Ham.
Oh, absolutely. But I think like any of these decisions, it's two sides to them, isn't there? Have you got the right man in charge? And if you haven't, he needs to go. But if you're in, sometimes you're better off leaving him in charge while you find the guy. But I mean, as soon as Marinakis moved at Forest, I think Potter's time was done, because I think Nuno looks like a natural fit at West Ham. You know, he looks like he's going to fit that club really well. They'll accept his style of football, and I think he'll make them successful. And I think it'd be really interesting, because I tell you what, if you ask me now, I wouldn't bet my house on Forest finishing above West Ham. So I think it'll be an interesting pan out. But yeah, it was a good game. It was a really good game.
Just before we quickly wrap up, then just go through our scores for this weekend. Nathan's disappeared again. So Nathan finished up on 2 points. Phil, you were the weekend winner on 6, and I only got 1.
Lying.
Disaster class. Unfortunately, it doesn't put you top. Nathan's still on top with 37 points. You're on 36. And 2 points behind you is me on 34 points. So it's still close, not a lot in it, but yeah, poor scoring round this weekend.
Well, let's hope we can fix that this coming weekend, shall we?
But certainly shall. So
we will have our own title race. We'll keep it interesting.
Anything else, yeah. Well, that's everything from this weekend. We'll upload again towards the end of the week with our predictions for next weekend. We'll also touch on our fantasy football bit as well.
Let's not.
So apologies for the few technical issues we've had with Nathan disappearing in and out, and the overlay's been a bit crap. But from myself and Phil, it's good night.
Thanks for listening, folks.
Next week. Cheers, guys. Give us a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on the next upload. Good night. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Oh, that was painful. Yeah. Right. Yeah.